welcome in. Hey, kitty cat. We had a kitty cat join us during our small break we had. If you're sticking around from the last stream, then you know exactly what's going on. But if you aren't from the last stream, and you happen to just be clicking out this video, checking out this video is going to be about Abdullah the Butcher. We've got Abdullah going up against Blackjack Mulligan in a brawl. It's going to last a good 6 minutes at the beginning of our show. It's going to open it up for us. But this whole show is kind of FMW themed because the last episode was about FMW. Welcome back. So this one here has, right now, honestly, the only kind of crazy match type we have is a ladder match, 2v2. This would be the first ladder match in our company, and it's gonna be a big deal. Let me actually see. Let's just do it the full 19 minutes. Let's let them go crazy out there. Tell a full story. But yeah, we're gonna be watching Dark Side with Abdullah. So as I book the rest of this pay-per-view, let's just get into it. Yeah, and then we'll go over some stuff. Kitty cat. Don't try this at home, y'all. Don't be Abdullah the Butcher.
The Butcher was like a nightmare come to life. He terrified people.
Just a savage, bloody, thirsty machine.
Trying to rip the eyeball.
When Abdullah walks in the ring, you know you're going to get blood. Every match he was in, he bled. You bled.
Oh my God, right on the head.
One of the most infamous wrestlers of all time, Abdullah the Butcher, left a legacy of violence and bloodshed wherever he went, from Puerto Rico to Japan and across North America.
It's Abdullah! Think about what he's experiencing. He's getting cooked.
You can't think of a heel that was bigger than Abdullah. You can't.
He made money everywhere he went.
But the more money we made, the more danger we had to face.
Even though Abdullah was playing a character, inside that was him.
He would have people with slingshots hitting him and throwing things at him because they think he's hurt the damn guy.
Fans at ringside, when he got too close, I mean, they were running.
Everybody's bloodthirsty. Everybody is bloodthirsty. They want it.
Notorious for blurring the line between reality and fiction, Abdullah remained a mystery even to those closest to him.
See, you all know the wrestler. You don't know the person.
He's a hero all the time. He was a very good person.
In a gruesome but successful career spanning 7 decades, Abdullah's thirst for blood made him infamous, but also led to his downfall.
He cost me my WWE career. That was a fact. The Hep C caused me not to have my WWE contract. You're a piece of shit, and I hope that when you die a really slow and painful death.
That's how he feels about that.
Acting like he finds the taste of the blood pleasurable.
Abdullah the Butcher would come into a regional wrestling territory and just set business on fire.
Blood everywhere.
The difference between Abdullah and everyone else is when anyone else came into the territory, fans were rooting for their favorite to win. When Abdullah came in, they were rooting for their favorite to survive.
This is Charlie. He's getting ready to carve the street dirty.
Hello, I'm Mick Foley, sometimes known as the Hardcore Legend, and I have been involved with professional wrestling since 1985. I knew of the legend of Abdullah because in those days, you learned about people outside of your geographic area largely by the magazines.
One way or the other.
The magazines painted this amazing portrait of this unstoppable monster.
Come on.
I was so intrigued by Abdullah the Butcher that the first thing I did when I got to college as a freshman is I put a black and white photo of him on the wall and began to tell the entire dormitory that he was my father.
When you have those taekwondo karate pants and you see him with a fork with all those gigantic cuts, and he opens those big eyes, and you see him on promos eating liver, and the blood of the liver coming out.
Oh my gosh.
That's Abdullah the Butcher, and he was
sure is
unstoppable. My name is Hugo Zabinovich. I'm from Guayaquil, Ecuador, and I've been in this passionate industry for close to 50 years, and I will do it again. Love Lucha Libre. No one was safe.
Here he comes again. He hits Bronco. I love it.
Not the referee, not the owner of the company. He will put fear into your body, into your brain, your soul.
What's happening in here? Can you explain to everybody what you're watching?
Yeah, eating the raw meat, chicken. And he could even take a phone book and tear it in half.
That is much less impressive than she thinks it is.
My name's Josephine Heron, Shreve, Abdullah the Butcher.
The raw meat thing is like way, like leaps and bounds more
at that
impressive.
time when I was growing up, I always say that's old school. And it was like we was raised in a 2-bedroom house, wartime house. There was 8 of us. 2 or 3 of us slept in a bed together. I had my own room because I slept in the bathtub. I had a cushion to put in there. My father and I have to go to the bathroom. They piss in a can.
Yeah.
My mother had to come in the washroom. She knock on the door, and I get out of the tub and let her in.
Did they piss in a can,
Kitty? I don't think my mother wanted to piss in a can.
They pissed
okay,
in
that's where it was. My name is Ralph Shreves. I am Larry Paul Shreves' brother as Abdullah the Butcher. I call him Larry. That's his name to me. Abdullah the Butcher is his money name, his wrestling name. If you ever interview him, you just look at his damn head. You ever interview him?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go then. I guess he tells the truth, but I'll tell you one thing. There, I think you should be better off talking to him a longer distance. You have your ass jump up in 1 minute. And you scared to death. He's a good actor.
大会に参加いたしました。特に
Oh yeah, we just gotta.
I wanted to take it off to say, oh, I got my head off. Let me take my head off.
Looking good.
There he is.
There he is.
My
They
name
don't
is
ask for
Larry
ID,
Shreve.
they just say take your hat
My
off.
other wrestling name is Abdullah the Butcher. I'm from Khartoum, Sudan, but now, since I'm pretty near out, I'm from Khartoum, Sudan, Windsor, Ontario.
Your parents had to take care of a lot of kids. Like, was it
Oh,
challenging?
they worked hard. My mother worked hard. My dad worked hard.
Yeah.
When I see my mother on the floor, scrubbing floors, you know, at a funeral home, I said to myself, holy shit, my mother works hard. But I never knew that she was on her hands and knees until I went there. I didn't want to learn how to read or write because I was only worrying about my mother and father. I wanted to make money. I used to buy candy, 3 for a penny, go to school, and you want to buy some candy, right? I'd sell it for maybe a penny a piece or whatever. Where the kids owed me money, and I said, when are you going to pay me my money? So maybe he got
That
scared,
sounds familiar.
like I was going to do something, right? So he wouldn't go to school. Maybe his mother came and says, my kid is scared to come to school. And that was it. Then I said, I got to get out of here and try to make some, money where I don't have a problem. And that's what I done.
So Larry only finished the 2nd grade?
He only finished the grade 2nd. I was a year smarter than him, and I'm not really that smart myself. But I'm saying we done a lot. Larry, he went to people's houses knocking on their door and asking for old clothes and all that. And he had a second-hand store with all kinds of old clothes, and he had a store.
He shined shoes for years. Then he got a janitorial service, a business.
He had people cutting grass and all that. He had a truck where he went around moving stuff out of people's basements and all that. He was a worker.
Let's just say he was always a hustler.
He been in the karate and all that. He had a karate place where, like senior citizens, he trained them to learn how to defend themselves. That's right. In winter, he had about 8 or 9 old ladies in their 60s or 70s, and he had it where they could defend themselves. Just old people and that.
I was down at the Windsor Arena, and I was doing karate and stuff like that, and the manager of the place, he said, "Hey, you should be a wrestler." I said, "Oh, I don't want to do that crap." He said, "You can make some money." I said, "Oh, okay."
Abdullah crosses the river.
Someone should have told him that about writing and reading.
Sheik, one of the innovators of hardcore wrestling.
Wait a minute. The Sheik has got that
It was a
fire.
tough time back then.
Fighting. Abdullah playing an Arabic wrestler. They only had one at that time, and that was, they call him the Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, the Sheik out of Detroit. He used to do all that stuff. You know, cut you with your forehead, walk around crazy.
Pull out that fireball.
Hi, this is Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer, Tony Atlas. Grew up watching that the Sheik. He imitated the Sheik.
Out of his camel clutch or anything of that nature. Wait a minute, that's my spark.
Corner post. Oh, this is a grudge match. This is war.
I told my dad, I said, "Dad, I'm wrestling at Cuba Hall." My dad says, "Those are some dangerous people over there." My dad used to see me with cuts on my head. He told my mother, "Tell him that you better get out of that shit." I said, "Dad, listen, smack me." He said, "For what?" I said, just smack me. He went, "You see me bleeding?" He said, "I didn't hit you that hard." Then I showed him the blade. He said, now I know you're crazy."
Having learned this bloody trick of the trade, Abdullah travels the world showcasing his hardcore style. While working in Puerto Rico, he meets promoter Carlos Colon and his right-hand man, Hugo Savinovich.
I started working with Carlos, and they say, "You're good, but you're not big enough." He says, "I want to make you a manager." And then he says, "By the way, we're bringing into Puerto Rico one monster, Abdullah the Butcher." And I have heard of him, and I said, wow, I mean, what a way to begin a managing career. Managing him, it was, you know, just a crazy, crazy way of earning a living.
Everybody just going crazy here.
By 1983, he was already drawing gigantic money in the Caribbean islands and Puerto Rico. People will fill up the stadium. Abdullah will make the promoter, Carlos Colon, look good. But at the same time, he will destroy him.
Perhaps the fear of being involved in this match.
Abdullah would wrestle in Puerto Rico for a couple of months. He wrestled in Japan for a couple of months, and then he would come back to the States. And he was a big draw. I mean, wherever he went, he drew money.
Abdullah was worth every penny that he got paid, and trust me, he was making huge money. He lived really like a rich guy.
Abdullah was very, very cautious of his money. When he got paid, as soon as you give it to him, he'd count it.
I made sure my mother and father, my brothers and sisters, got some of it. My mother used to work for the funeral home and stuff like that. I went there one day and I said, "Come on, Ma." She said, "What?" She said, "I want you to meet Mrs. I said, "I don't want to meet them." You understand? You're here scrubbing floors and stuff like that. I'm supposed to be Abdullah the Butcher, and you're on your hands and knees scrubbing floors and stuff. From that day, she never worked another day in her life. And I made sure of that. But I was dumb. I didn't have the schooling. like I tell you, if I know what I know now, everybody shafts me. You understand?
Despite his successful and profitable rise to fame, Abdullah today finds himself in legal trouble and financial ruin.
What has the whole situation been like for you personally?
Hell. You don't know who in the hell's working with you or working against you. You understand? I'm in bad shape. Real bad shape.
And anybody, anywhere, that does not fear the name of the almighty Abdullah the Butcher is either an insane fool or they're lying to you.
With Larry Shreve, yeah, it could be really difficult for a fan to know where the character ends, where the real person begins.
He has reigned terror in the wrestling.
For someone who rode with him for hundreds of hours, yeah, you get to know the real guy, or what he wants to show you of the real guy.
Abdullah the Butcher moves swiftly for a big man.
See, he always talk about he's an entertainer. He's entertaining you. But the real true person, you all don't know. My name is Jocelyn Malika Marshall. I met Abdullah while I was on the streets feeding the homeless. He told me his name was Joe, and I was just so excited to see somebody else out there like myself feeding the homeless. So I didn't know he had a restaurant. Gave me the address of the restaurant, and I brought my son over there. My son said, "Do you know who that is?" He said, "That's Abdullah the Butcher." And I said, "Who is that?" Because I'm not into wrestling. Abdullah was his hero.
Your son liked all the bad guys.
He loved the bad guys.
Yep. Abdullah was the best heel that the world ever saw. Even picture in my head now, just the way he stands, the way he moved around the ring, and the things he did, to see a whole crowd of people move back. He could walk through an aisle and people would run from him. And when he come through that ring, people go, uh-oh, here come Abdullah. It got so, it wasn't a gimmick.
He was in character most of the time, especially when he went in public. I remember seeing a flight attendant go over to him, and as soon as Abdullah saw that flight attendant, his eyes bugged out, his mouth started watering, and she tried to like get his beverage order and just walked away. I was like, "Abby, are you okay?" He goes, "Gotta protect the character, champ. Gotta protect the character." And that's what he would do. And so he, in his own way, he would create this grassroots campaign for the authenticity of his character.
When he went into the ring with any wrestler, he made them a good wrestler.
If you fight Abdullah, you fought Abdullah, you got over it. People knew you the next day.
They got like a crown on their head because they're wrestling one of the best.
That's why I say Abdullah made Carlos Colon. Abdullah made Tony Mr. USA Atlas. Everybody that fought Abdullah became a big star.
All right, let's run the show and see if everyone that fights Abdullah becomes a big star. We had, wow, great match for, Schultz is good, dude. Schultz is nice. Warrior, pretty good showing. Yeah, solid. Sabu at a 51. Okay. Anita carried the match in that last match. That's pretty good. Okay, we had Austin defeat Jim Morris. Pretty good match to open up. Or no, that was the end of the pre-show there. Not enough selling shown in this match, but we got him with the Sudan elbow drop. Abdullah. All right. Kevin and Adrian have great chemistry. Cool. We knew that. All right. Wow. Good stuff. That's a nice match. Ted DiBiase had a 95. Pillman with an 88. DiBiase needs to be pushed back up into the main event. Oh, kitties. All right. So does Steamboat. Oh, hi. Hi, baby. Taz and Owen have great chemistry showing in their performances. Oh, I should have had that be earlier. I forgot that the technical would piss him off. Okay, match suffered. 88, that's pretty good. 82. 89. 96, man. Sting and Flair bring the house down every time, dude. Never fails. All right. That was a good show. Yeah. The tag ladder matches, nobody got injured. I was going to do a couple more, like, I forgot I was going to do like a First Blood or like a... tried to do a Texas death match, but it didn't really make sense. Maybe we'll do some more gimmick matches later. But yeah, let's get back to Abdullah's story here.
Duty battle continues between Abdullah and Kevin Von Erich.
Here he is with a big karate thrust to the head of the Dirty Dutchman tail.
What really made Abdullah was the time in Japan. In Japan, during that time, wrestling was still about 7% real. If you got a karate kick in Japan, it was a real karate kick. You got chopped in Japan, it was a real chop. The only thing that was fake in Japan was who won and who lost. He was on the cover of all these magazines. They have billboards of Abdullah, pictures of Abdullah.
He was what I call crazy over.
2 years.
Like he
Yeah,
was
they're not gonna take it.
an iconic part of Japanese culture.
Good, bro. That's fine. Doesn't bother me at all.
As crazy as this might sound, he recorded an album in Japan, in the dressing room.
My name is
You want out, kitty?
Butcher.
Or are you just playing?
My whole family hates me because I'm too vicious.
Wanna go?
They never seen nothing like me. I was different. They only seen the wrestling.
In or out, kitty?
You know?
Okay.
That was it. I was different.
Do you want to go too?
Having
Did you
found
miss
success
it?
with the
Oh, no?
hardcore
You wanted to
style he
stay?
adapted from the Sheik, Abdullah becomes a mentor to wrestler Devin Nicholson. But this long-term friendship will end in disaster.
I actually ended his career. Retired him in the ring, retired him out of the ring. My name is Devin Nicholson, and my wrestling name was Hannibal.
There will be no more Abdullah after the 23rd.
No class, no idea how to dress.
Starting his career with Stampede Wrestling in 2001, Devin begins working under the name Madman Hannibal and soon launches his own indie promotion, Great North Wrestling. In 2006, he begins working with Abdullah.
Before all the negative stuff happened, I actually considered him somewhat of a mentor, and like I would say he was the first wrestler to like take me under his wing a bit and teach me about how to get heat and stuff. We ended up tag teaming and wrestling each other numerous times.
I used to work for him.
Right, like you guys were friends, weren't you?
Yeah, I used to fly into Toronto or whatever, and we had shows. He'd come out to Calgary, Alberta. We'd have shows. You understand?
Abdullah, you think I'm not ready for you? I'm gonna catch you in your last match in Canada.
There will be some people that will always hate me for exposing him, but whatever. I don't care. I stopped him from wrestling.
Well, he stopped you from wrestling, so.
Already 68 years old
Yes, that's
and
probably
6
fair.
decades into his career, Abdullah returns
You don't
to
have to be
Canada
such a
to wrestle
smug
Hannibal
dick about
in what's
it,
being
though.
billed as his retirement match.
I remember my first experience of Abdullah. My grandmother was actually somewhat of a wrestling fan, and I remember she let me rent a wrestling movie called I Like to Hurt People. And I just remember thinking, how did they make this blood effect? You didn't really know how they did blood in those days. I'll probably have to edit this. And I know Bret Hart would put it in his mouth, he said, but I was always afraid to do that. So then you would take the blade and put it like there and tape over top. And then when it comes time to bleed, you'd pull it out. And then, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not Abdullah, but you'd slice down like that.
Now, for me to hit myself, I would hit myself like this. You see it?
I was around Abdullah a lot, and you never actually see him do the deed. The blood would arrive as if, by magic.
Abdullah had razor blades on all his fingers. First he cut you with the razor blade.
And what does he got? He's got a fork.
And then he would take the fork and scrape it across it to make it bigger so it could bleed more. And he actually would stick that fork, he would stick you with that fork too.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like stabbing you in the head with that fork, hurt like hell.
That's Abdullah the Butcher.
And he would cut you deep.
Well, did anybody ever complain about being cut?
Not to Abdullah. Because, you see, in the older days, the guys would tell you this, suck it up. If you don't like it, you're in the wrong business, kid. Suck it up. There was no bitching and complaining in wrestling. I didn't carry blade because I didn't juice every night. But this was part of these guys' gimmick.
Yeah.
Abdullah, Bruiser Brody, Dusty Rowe. Abdullah's blade every night. Every night. It's kind of like Ric Flair gotta have the robe. Well, Abdullah gotta have the blade.
Yeah.
Why
Gotta have
do they
juice.
call him Abdullah the Butcher? What does a butcher do? They take to make blood. They try to hurt you, to torture you. This guy here, he was rushed to the hospital, had 4 stitches in the back of the head, because this guy chopped him in the damn head and got cut. Don't think that this is all phony blood.
Abdullah's intense bloodlust and unpredictable style keeps him from signing with the world's largest promotion, Vince McMahon's WWE.
Vince kind of knew that Abdullah was going to be very hard to be controlled. And I think that if you would even ask Abdullah, I don't think he even trusted himself.
14 defenses.
Because I don't think a lot of times he planned things.
We were going to have a tag
Out of
team
nowhere.
match in Ottawa, and before the match, we were
Flair's
appearing
gonna go
on a local television show called Rogers Daytime.
Just when you got used to
With the
him
old,
losing.
And without this being planned or anything,
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
he put the male host in a headlock, walked the male host over to where there was going to be a cooking segment after. And then the guy started bleeding.
Settle. Back off. Are you gonna manage this Friday?
You know what?
You can come with me and come to the show on Friday.
It was the weirdest moment ever. The guy was like, I just remember him shaking like that. He was like going to shock almost. It was like a guy that obviously isn't used to bleeding or getting in fights or anything.
Oh my gosh.
We'll be right back after this.
I think that was 2009. You couldn't even really get away with it then. It was a miracle he did. But you could see like how in the old days he could get away with stuff like that. But I think in 2022 it would be hard to assault a TV show host and get away with it. I think he was in his late 60s by then too. So it certainly helped.
After years on the independent circuit and mentorship from Abdullah, Hannibal finally achieves his own opportunity to wrestle for the WWE.
When I was signed by WWE, he actually screamed with joy because I guess since he never actually wrestled for them and it was kind of like someone that kind of represented him in a way was going to get in there.
But after a series of routine blood tests, Hannibal receives career-shattering news.
In my blood test, they found that the hepatitis C virus was present, and I was like, well, first of all, I was confused on like how I would have such a thing.
A lot of guys would use dirty razor blades, because everybody didn't carry blades. Everybody didn't carry blades. Let me say something like, "Hey, Abby, you got a blade I could use?"
Yep, that's.
Dude, he goes use the blade, and you know when you boil something, you got to do what? Give it back.
Give it back.
And they would give it back to Abdullah. So it was very easy for somebody to catch a disease, because who knows where that blade came from or who they cut before they cut Hannibal.
Did it cross your mind at that point that it might have been Abdullah?
Yes, because there was no other way that I would have thought that I would have caught it. But I wasn't, like at this point, I didn't think that I would have the evidence or anything.
At some point, you and this guy Hannibal were friendly with each other, right?
Yeah, we were good friends. I used to work for him. He was a promoter.
Right.
So, I don't know what happened, but I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
His career cut short by his hepatitis C diagnosis. Hannibal is desperate for answers.
I had a guy that was doing a documentary on me. It's called This Is Hannibal. We were hoping that it was going to be my journey to WWE movie, but it ended up just being like a sad movie.
Obviously, it didn't work out. The contract got rescinded because I have hepatitis C.
So he was the one that actually saw the cutting incident, and he showed me the clip from the 2007 match. And he's like, "What is Abdullah doing here?"
I haven't even seen footage of the match, to be honest with you. I would love to see it.
You can see here he's cutting his own head with his razor blade that's taped to his finger, right where all the scars are on his forehead, what he's been doing for the past 50 years. And you see him doing that to my forehead. So I'm like, he's blading me.
Oh my God, so 8 years managing him in different countries, I never saw him doing that to another guy. And if that's the case, wow.
Many local news stations saw my movie and did their own stories on it, because Ottawa, I don't think ever had somebody that had made WWE. Ronald Kaza, one of the top lawyers in this area, saw the case, and with his skill as a lawyer, he was able to basically force Abdullah to provide his blood test. According to his blood work, there's a history of Hep C, so you would think that he knew, but whether he knew or not, he should have known it's dangerous to cut someone with a razor blade with blood on it.
The footage of Abdullah cutting Hannibal with a used razor blade and the results of Abdullah's blood test form the basis of a lawsuit filed by Hannibal. A lawsuit that Abdullah claims he couldn't read or understand.
I was getting a lot of letters, right? What am I gonna do? Open it up? I don't know what the hell it says. If it wasn't for Malika, no. I'd really be in bad shape.
And he sat me down. He said, "Sit down, Malika." But he told me he didn't know how to read and write, and he cried like a baby. A big, huge man like this crying. I never seen a man cry like that. That's when I understood what was going on in his life. And he would ask me to open his mail and read it to him. And after I looked through it, it included the court case with Devon Nicholson. I don't know anything about that.
My sister called me and said, "You lost the case in Toronto." I said, "What?" And
They want back in.
It was default.
Oh my goodness.
That's what, because I didn't show up. And that was it. See?
When you aspire to be a professional wrestler, this is how you celebrate a legal victory.
He ended up losing in court in both Ontario and Georgia. And he was found guilty of negligence, assault, and battery. He either knew or should have known that he had Hep C, which Abdullah still denies, even though he provided the blood tests.
Court documents show that Abdullah carries the same rare strain of hepatitis C as Hannibal. In the years that follow, Abdullah makes a range of claims, including the allegation that it was Hannibal who gave the disease to him. After the Canadian judge sees the video evidence, coupled with the confirmation that both men share the same rare strain of Hep C, the courts side with Hannibal.
It's very good to have that on the record after all these years of being called a liar.
Devin Nicholson was awarded $2.3 million in damages.
No, I don't think they should pay it. No, not that much. No.
What should he have gotten?
Nothing. I wouldn't have sued him. When you get into a certain profession, you're taking the risk. Hannibal could have done it himself. That's what the guys told me. Told him, he don't change his blade. Do it yourself. He let Abdullah cut him. He could have cut himself, but he was scared to cut himself, so he got somebody else do it. And it cost him.
In dire financial straits, Abdullah continues to make wrestling-related appearances and autograph
That's a tough
signings.
one. I kind of fall
Hannibal
in between.
claims that Abdullah has moved around his assets in order to avoid paying him, and to this day, the matter is still in front of the courts.
He's never paid anything. Hasn't paid a penny.
Has Hannibal been paid by Abdullah?
Nah. I don't think he have it.
I want you all to look at this. This is dangerous. This is stuff that you have ever seen. Look at this.
Oh boy.
He has no money to repair none of this. Now this is a light fixture where the water is coming down. This is electrical. Listen.
This is how his house is right now, currently.
Right now, currently. That's why I didn't allow you all to come back there. Oh, I am stressed. I'm stressed. I've never had blood pressure until I got moved into his house. But it's worth it when you see someone being taken advantage as if he built a career.
Should have went to school. Should have went to school to learn how to read and write. I studied money. But I needed more than that. I got shafted. All the tapes, what I made for many, many years, got nothing.
Whatever he's going through, that was all his anyways. I don't want to say too much. I just tell her that's the truth. My brother, don't worry, but my brother he's a very nice person, but people play games with him.
Are you aware that he says that he can't read or write? Did he ever tell you that he can't read or write?
No, and I've seen him order at restaurants, reading menus. I've seen letters from him. I've seen him sign autographs. He's owned several businesses over the years and been involved with large wrestling contracts with companies like WCW and Japanese companies.
So he can't read or write?
No. Nope, he never could. But he'd find ways, like, if they told him, like, to go to a chicken farm or something like that, he'd draw a picture of a chicken.
I don't mean this to be humorous, but, like, he knew how to read a menu. You know, like, we would eat out 3 times a day. He never had an issue. I don't know if that's the case. If it is, I think it's just... it's an accolade for him to be that successful around the world without that ability. But I don't know. I've only recently heard that.
that's like a shock to me, because he made great business transactions. Even in a check, you have to write it. I did not know that. And 8 years we travel a lot, spent a lot of time together, and that is a shock to me. If that is a guy of a second grade education, wow, that whoever was the teacher, we gotta find him or her and honor that person, because that teacher did a lot.
Abdullah the Butcher
That
himself getting stitched up right here.
The punishing style of hardcore wrestling has a long legacy,
wow.
but it often comes at
Second
great
grade
personal
education.
cost
We
for
gotta
those
find
involved.
that teacher.
Abdullah and Carlos Colon invented a match with a chain going right across the ring, and they were hooked to it. And even with
Everything
the rain,
he's learned over every year of his life
still see
is that
all
teacher
the blood coming down.
responsible.
It was horrendous, but for the fans, it was just devastating, the punishment that they inflicted on each other.
We felt invincible, and they trained you to feel invincible.
At those times, we would put the blood of their opponent as part of being a heel and suck the blood out of your opponent's head. When I
don't do that.
Talk about it right now, I see the expressions on the new generation, like, what the heck were you guys thinking? But back then it was a whole different world.
Yeah, not wrong.
Anytime you watch something, even if you watch a movie picture or something like that, they always have violence in it, right? You have like the cops and the robbers, you have this and stuff like that. It's always violence. And if you don't give the people violence, they don't come and see you.
In a twist of fate in 2021, 7
Anita
years
and
after his
Austin,
own
great
court
chemistry.
battle, Hannibal finds himself at the center of his own controversy by brutalizing a referee.
They were looking for someone to bleed from the spike, so the promoter found this referee that was a known bleeder to take the spike. It hit him several times and it did some damage. The promoter for that show did not have any medics on site. It went on longer than it should have. Like, it was bad communication all around.
Guy, the referee, he ended up getting an infection. His head was, mutilated.
I was appalled. I saw the dude's head with, a dozen different gaffs with staples in his head. And I'm just like, what in the heck happened here? Why have charges not been pressed? Why is this guy not in jail? Even your story is saying you were recklessly, dangerously careless and damn near killed this guy because you're just sloppy. And if we believe that he got mad and actually attacked this guy with a spike, it's like, you should be in jail. You should never be booked to wrestle again. This is not good for the business. This isn't 1960 where we're going to convince somebody that he's the madman from the Sudan that attacked somebody with a spike.
Right.
There's no place for that in the industry anymore.
Oh my God, that even makes no sense. I mean, you just were in a situation and wow, strange things do happen, because what are the chances that you win a court case and now you're going to do that to a referee? Crazy.
To this day, Abdullah's legal problems haunt him, and the hepatitis C controversy has tainted the legacy of his legendary career.
Months out of action.
It was horrendous to hear, because you never want to hear that somebody did this to another guy. But then you also wonder, because in my case, I was around him in bloody matches, and Carlos Colon and other guys, but none of us tested, positive to that.
Hannibal eventually finds an experimental treatment that cures him of his hepatitis C, but his bitterness remains.
Is there anything that he could do to make this right?
Yes. I mean, start paying what you can, and take some responsibility for what you did. You've been found guilty in both Canada and the US, but you never apologize for anything. And yeah, it's just been a nightmare situation, but I would never expect that from him. So all I can do is move on, which I have been doing. I'll be honest, talking about this situation, I mean, this is hopefully the last time I'll have to talk about it. It was a terrible period of my life, and I'm over it.
Because the lawsuit is argued in a civil trial, the judge found Abdullah the Butcher liable, but not guilty, of causing Hannibal's hepatitis C.
This is the Hall of Fame, and all these wrestlers here, these are the old ones. They're probably all dead now. They're all in the Hall of Fame with Abdullah the Butcher. Well, I put it this way: all my family is his biggest fan. He done good, and I hate to say this. There's a lot of good wrestlers. And I put it this way: he's one of the best.
Being around our next inductee always made me a little nervous. This is a man who took hardcore to another level. Take a look.
In 2011, Abdullah the Butcher is inducted into the WWE's Hall of Fame.
When I found out I was going to be in the Hall of Fame, I says, I don't believe it until they booked me there, you know. And Terry Funk was the one who put me over strong, you know, said nice things about me. You know, he said, whatever people say about Abdullah the Butcher, he made these promoters a lot of money.
I cried because I know the story that to be what he became, he paid the price. And yes, he made the money, but
kitty cat.
It wasn't easy being Abdullah the Butcher.
What's missing in wrestling today is the idea that an opponent is fighting for something bigger than a title or a victory. They're fighting for their lives. That's what he brought to the table, and I don't know if anyone ever did it better than Abdullah the Butcher.
I never seen anybody that the fan was actually afraid of. They was afraid of him.
They run so far away.
I never saw that with anybody.
I think he should be remembered for his greatness. His greatness, because he is the god of wrestling. Not the negative, you know, just one little situation and it's not proven. He didn't get a chance to prove his innocence. I don't care if they take everything he owns. I would never turn my back on a man of greatness, such greatness. He's gonna be okay with the help of God.
Long after you're gone, what would you like people to think when they hear the name Abdullah the Butcher?
Just to give me the respect for what I done, and a lot of things people say I done, I did not do. You know what I mean? And that's all I can say. Whatever you want to think, I'll leave it up to you.
I do want to say the whole part where he's describing his lawyer being so good at being a lawyer, just basically on how good of a lawyer he was. He was able to get Abdullah to where he basically had to do a blood test. I don't know Canadian law at all, but I don't know if you can necessarily force someone to get a blood test for a civil trial. I don't know. It could be there's some level, but so where I'm confused is if Abdullah didn't respond to anything, any of the lawsuit documents, how was this lawyer able to convey to Abdullah that he needed him to go take a blood test, and Abdullah went and took a blood test? Because the way he explains it, it sounds shisty. It sounds like they took advantage of Abdullah not knowing a lot of things, or just not in general knowing legalities and stuff, and basically coerced him into getting a blood test done, is the way that it sounds to me, when he doesn't really have a way to explain it, and when he says, "Oh yeah, he's just such a good lawyer, he was able to get him to get a blood test." I was like, that's the only part to me that sounded a little bit like shaky. But it's hard. That's a hard call to make. It made it easy on the judge that Abdullah didn't show up, but you know, it would be hard to say. But yeah, I think we're gonna end that here for today. I was probably gonna do another one next Tuesday, and then I did pick up the game Wrestling Empire from M. Dickey. It was on sale, and it's like a fun little game. M. Dickey's like a singular, like one guy at a company that's just creating games. Developer, yeah, it's like a solo dev that's got his own company. But yeah, so we're gonna check that out. Probably take like a hour break or so, and check that out later tonight. But thank you for watching. Definitely follow if you want to see the next one, and yeah, peace out.